Hey everyone! Welcome back to English Daily Talk, your space for real stories, real emotions, and real English. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Chris. It's really good to have you with us again. If you've been following our C1 series, you know we like to go deep, not just into vocabulary, but into life itself.
Today's episode is called The Bridge We Almost Don't See. It's a story about something very simple, a small pedestrian bridge, but also about something we often forget to notice, the people and structures that quietly hold our lives together.
As always, we'll start with a story, then move into reflection and discussion, and later we'll have a language spotlight, where we unpack some C1 level expressions and structures you can borrow and use in your own speaking and writing.
So, if you can, grab a drink, find a comfortable spot, and let your mind slow down for a bit.
Ready, Lowell? Let's cross this bridge together.
This story started on a gray Tuesday afternoon, the kind of day where nothing is exactly wrong, but everything feels a little bit off. Do you know that feeling?
Oh yes, that life is technically fine, but somehow heavy kind of day.
Exactly. I had just come out of this long meeting. You know the type. Lots of opinions, lots of slides, but very little actual progress.
Ah, a classic.
My notebook was filled with action points, but my brain felt overloaded. It was like my mind was a crowded room, full of people talking at the same time. I didn't want to think, or problem solve, or plan. I just wanted space.
So what did you do?
I decided to go for a walk. Nothing dramatic, nothing heroic. I just took my phone, put it on silent, and walked out of the building. There's a small pedestrian bridge not far from my office. I've crossed that bridge hundreds of times on my way to buy coffee, or to catch the bus, or to take a shortcut home. And honestly, I never really saw it. For me, it was just part of the route, like a comma in a sentence.
I like that metaphor. A comma in a sentence. Important, but invisible.
Exactly. So I started walking in that direction, mostly out of habit. The weather was undecided. The sky couldn't make up its mind between rain and staying dry. The trees along the path were confused too. Some leaves were still green, some were yellow, some were already brown and curled at the edges. When I reached the bridge, I noticed someone standing there in the middle, leaning slightly on the railing, looking down at the water.
Was he on his phone? Like 99% of the population.
That's what surprised me. He wasn't. No phone, no headphones, no rush. Just standing, present. I slowed down without really thinking about it. There was something about the way he stood there, still but not tense, that made me feel like I was walking into a quiet room. I didn't want to slam the door on the moment. So I walked onto the bridge, and as I got closer, I could hear the water below. It wasn't loud, just that soft, constant movement that you usually ignore.
Almost like white noise for the soul.
Yes. And just when I was about to walk past him, he spoke. He didn't look at me, didn't turn his head. He just said, very calmly,
Funny, isn't it? We cross this bridge every day, but we never really see it.
I stopped. It took me a second to realize he was talking to me, not just to himself.
That's a powerful first sentence for a stranger to say.
Right. So I said, you're right. I don't think I've ever stopped here before. He smiled a little, still looking at the water. Then he said,
I come here when I feel lost. The bridge reminds me that even when I don't understand where I'm going, something is still holding me up.
We stood there side by side, two strangers on a small wooden bridge, in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon, sharing a silence that didn't feel awkward at all.
It sounds almost like the world outside paused.
It really did. People walked past us. Of course. Some walked quickly, some slowly. A few glanced at us, probably wondering why we were just standing there, doing nothing. But for a moment, I didn't feel like I was doing nothing. I felt like I was finally not running. After a while, I asked, "Are you okay?"
Life's heavy sometimes. Things pile up. Expectations, responsibilities, mistakes. This bridge doesn't fix anything, but it reminds me that I haven't fallen yet. Something is still carrying me.
Wow, that's beautifully sad and comforting at the same time.
Yes. I could feel that something in his voice. The weight, but also the quiet strength. It wasn't dramatic. He wasn't crying or breaking down. He was just honest. We talked a bit more. Nothing too personal. We didn't exchange names. He told me he worked nearby. He said sometimes he worried he was failing at being a good adult. You know, career, family, finances, all those invisible checklists. I told him I had just left a meeting where everyone was pretending to be in control, and I felt like the only one quietly panicking inside.
Maybe we're all quietly panicking inside.
I feel that quote in my bones.
Me too. After a while, he took a deep breath, like someone who'd just put down a heavy backpack.
Anyway, thank you for sharing this bridge with me.
He smiled, finally looked at me properly, and then walked away slowly, as if his steps were lighter than before. I stayed. I leaned on the railing, looked down at the water, and listened to the soft creaks of the wooden planks under my feet. And suddenly, I saw the bridge properly for the first time. It wasn't beautiful in a postcard way. Some of the wood was old and slightly cracked. The metal parts were scratched. A few boards had darker stains from years of rain. But it was there, solid, carrying person after person, day after day, without asking for attention or thanks. And that's when the real realization hit me. There are people in my life who are exactly like this bridge. The friend who always answers my messages, even at midnight. The colleague who quietly fixes my mistakes before anyone else sees them. The family member who never complains, but always checks in. The past version of myself who got through difficult seasons so that current me could stand here. I realized I had walked across these bridges so many times without seeing them, without really acknowledging what they were doing for me. When I finally walked back to the office, the problems from the meeting were still there. The emails were still waiting. The deadlines hadn't disappeared, but something inside me had shifted. My life didn't suddenly become easier, but I didn't feel like I was walking alone anymore. Sometimes, the strongest things in our lives are the ones we almost don't see.
You know, when you first told me this story, the part that really grabbed me wasn't just the bridge itself. It was the moment you realized that certain people in your life have been holding you up the whole time.
Yeah, the moment you notice that, it kind of hurts and heals at the same time.
Let's unpack this a bit for our listeners at a life level, but also at a language level, because there are some big ideas here that you can actually talk about in English at C1. First, there's this idea of invisible support systems, people, habits, routines, even infrastructure that we take for granted until something goes wrong.
Like electricity, or the people who collect our trash, or the friend who always listens.
Exactly. When everything is working, we don't really think about it. We only notice when it stops. So, here are some questions for you, listening right now. You don't have to answer out loud, but maybe pause and think. Who are the bridges in your life? Who holds you when you feel like you might fall? Who checks on you, even when you don't ask?
And another question. Have you ever told them? Do they know they're your bridge? Oh,
That's a powerful one. We often feel grateful, but we don't always express it.
and there's another angle. Are you a bridge for someone else? Maybe for a younger colleague, a sibling, a friend, your children, or even a stranger you helped once and forgot about.
I like that idea, that we're all walking on bridges. And sometimes we're also being the bridge.
And I think at C1 level, it's really interesting to talk about emotional infrastructure. The invisible things that make our lives stable. Not just I have a friend, but I have a support system, a network, a foundation.
Right? And we can use some beautiful structures in English to talk about that. We'll get into those in the language spotlight section. But before that, let me ask you, Jessica, after that day on the bridge, did you actually do anything differently?
I did. That evening, I sent 3 messages. One to my best friend, just saying, "Thank you for always being there, even when I disappear into my work for weeks." One to my mom, saying, "I know I don't say this enough, but I really appreciate how you never stop checking in on me." And one to a colleague, thanking them for quietly helping me with the project without making a big deal out of it.
How did they respond?
My friend sent a bunch of heart emojis and said, "Are you dying?" Laughs.
Classic.
My mom sent a long voice note that made me cry a little, and my colleague replied, "Oh, wow. Thank you. I didn't think anyone noticed."
That last line hits hard. I didn't think anyone noticed.
Yeah, it made me wonder how many people in our lives are giving, helping, supporting, and quietly thinking. No one really sees what I do.
So, for you listening right now, here's a tiny challenge in English. Think of one person who has been a bridge for you. Compose a short message in English, starting with, "Hey, I was just thinking about you today, and I realized you've been a kind of bridge in my life because you don't have to send it. But if you do, you might make someone's whole week."
And just writing it is a powerful language exercise. It forces you to express complex feelings in English. Gratitude, recognition, vulnerability. That's pure C1 territory.
All right, time to put on our language spotlight glasses. Let's look at some expressions and structures from the story that are very useful at C1 level. We'll give you the phrase or structure, the meaning or nuance, and a few example sentences you can reuse or adapt.
First one. My mind was a crowded room. In the story, I said my mind felt like a crowded room, full of people talking at the same time. This is a metaphor. Instead of saying I was stressed or I was overwhelmed, which are fine but more basic, you create an image.
At C1, it's great to use metaphors like this. Here are some patterns you can copy. My mind was a crowded room. My thoughts were like tabs open in a browser, all demanding attention. My brain felt like a radio tuned to 3 stations at once.
Try creating your own metaphor for feeling mentally overloaded. For example, these days, my mind feels like zero wow.
Second expression. I didn't want to slam the door on the moment. Jessica said she slowed down because she didn't want to slam the door on the moment. That's a creative way of saying, I didn't want to interrupt or destroy the quiet atmosphere. You can use a similar pattern. I didn't want to break the silence. I was careful not to burst the bubble. I didn't want to ruin the moment by checking my phone.
These expressions are great when you're describing emotional or delicate situations. Third idea. Something was still holding me up. The stranger on the bridge said, "Even when I don't understand where I'm going, something is still holding me up." He meant, even when I feel lost in life, there is still support, something keeping me from collapsing.
This idea of being held up can be used metaphorically. Even in my darkest moments, a few close friends held me up. Her kindness held me together when everything else fell apart. Fourth phrase. That's when the realization hit me. This is a very nice C1 storytelling phrase. It's more vivid than just saying, I realized. Other variations. That's when it hit me that I had taken them for granted. Suddenly, it hit me. I wasn't angry. I was scared. It finally dawned on me that I wasn't walking this path alone.
Notice it dawned on me. Another advanced structure. It's softer, more gradual than it hit me. Fifth structure. Not because X, but because Y. In the story, I said, the problems were still there, not because they had changed, but because I had. This contrast structure sounds very natural at C1. You can use it in many contexts. I decided to stay, not because I wasn't scared, but because I knew it mattered. He apologized, not because he was forced to, but because he genuinely cared. I felt lighter, not because the situation was easy, but because I stopped carrying it alone.
It's a beautiful way to show subtle thinking. Sixth line. We often notice what breaks, but not what holds. This line is almost like a small proverb. It uses parallel structure, repeating a similar pattern to make the sentence strong and memorable. You can create your own parallel lines. We often remember the pain, but not the quiet care that surrounded it. We complain about what we lack, but forget what we already have.
This kind of structure is perfect for reflections, essays, or when you want to sound a bit more philosophical in English. Let's do a tiny practice. Choose one of these patterns and complete it about your own life. These days, my mind feels like... That's when it hit me that I felt different. Not because, but because... We often notice, but not...
If you want, You can even write your sentence down and say it out loud. That's how you make these structures part of your active vocabulary, not just something you recognize when you hear it.
Now, let's turn this story into something practical for your English journey. Here are 3 small exercises you can do with the idea of the bridge we almost don't see.
Exercise 1. Micro story. Write a short personal story about a bridge person in your life. It could be a teacher who believed in you, a friend who supported you, a parent or sibling, a mentor, or even a stranger. Try to include at least one advanced structure, like, that's when it hit me that, not because X, but because Y. Or, we often notice, but not.
Exercise 2. Gratitude, message in English. Choose someone in your real life and write them a short message in English. For example, "Hey, I was just thinking about you today, and I realized you've been a kind of bridge in my life. Not because you do anything dramatic, but because you're always there in quiet ways. I just wanted to say thank you." You can send it, or keep it, but writing it will help you practice emotional vocabulary, which is essential at C1.
Exercise 3. Self-reflection. Paragraph. Finally, write a paragraph about how you can be a bridge for others. Use some of today's vocabulary. Hold up, hold together, support system, invisible, foundation, quietly, silently. For example, I want to be the kind of person who quietly holds others up when life is heavy, not by solving all their problems, but by being a stable presence they can lean on.
Before we end, I want you to take just a few seconds, even right now, to think of one person who has been a bridge for you. Visualize their face. Remember something they did for you. Let yourself feel that gratitude.
And if you feel comfortable, maybe later today, tell them, in English or in your own language. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you see them.
Because just like that wooden bridge in the story, some people have been carrying you for a long time without being noticed.
And maybe, without realizing it, you've been a bridge too.
Thank you for spending this time with us, and for trusting us with your English and with your thoughts.
If this episode resonated with you, you can replay it, shadow the dialogue, or use the phrases we highlighted in your own speaking and writing. That's how you move from understanding C1 English to living it.
This was C1 Episode 6, The Bridge We Almost Don't See.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jessica. And this is English Daily Talk. Take care, notice your bridges, and we'll see you in the next episode. Air.